The truth is, I have a natural confidence, but every single day, man, I think I'm scared about something. I just have a little bit more confidence than fear, and I just do it anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
It's actually great advice.
Hi, and thanks for coming to the Flat Bill Investor Podcast. I'm Josh Zaglowski.
I'm Zach Spencer, and today we are blessed to have with us none other than the boss lady herself. She is an adjunct professor in the MRED program at University of Utah. She has helped run 6 different businesses under one group to do over $3 billion, that's with a B, $3 billion in real estate development. She's been in real estate for 20 years. We have the CEO of the CW Group. I'm going to switch my flat bill out. The CEO of the CW Group, Darlene Carter. Thanks for being here with us today, Darlene.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so happy. So we want to just jump right into it. So tell us really quickly just a little bit of history about you and what you do at CW Group.
Sounds great. Like you mentioned, I've been in the industry 20 years. So I am an Illinois native who moved out to college in Utah at Utah State, majored in public relations, got into real estate development, started in home building. Very fortunate in doing home building first because I really started understanding what development was. Started in sales. About 5 years later, transitioned to operations when I met my current business partner, Colin Wright, basically at the launch of Henry Walker Homes. And, on and off for the better part of the last 12 years, we've been working together. And our current company is the CW Group, and we're a real estate development shop. We do commercial development, retail, a lot of multifamily land development, and then we have a really big home building arm. Personally, I'm a mom, been married almost 20 years. I've got 2 kids, and yeah, that's
Awesome.
my life.
That's a life.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you said you graduated in public relations?
Yes.
What kind of transitioned to real estate at that point?
Honestly, after I graduated, I was just working in retail and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I had actually moved to Denver and was running a big retail shop in some of the big malls in Denver. And these girls came in and they just had more money than I did. And I was like, well, what are you guys doing? And they sold real estate for developers. And I just had this clear thought. It's one of the most clear thoughts I've had in my life. I was like, I can do that. And so I moved back to Utah and started applying for jobs. This is like look in the paper days. So, applied at jobs.
Sunday afternoons?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nate Pugsley, who's a great mentor of mine, now owns Brighton Development. He was the president of Woodside Homes at the time, and he hired me to be on-site sales. And that was really the beginning of a pretty big trajectory path of my life. So
That's cool.
That's cool. Well, when Zach introduced you, the one thing I didn't know when we were talking earlier was $3 billion in sales in real estate. That's a big feat. I was at a speaking event a week ago or 2 weeks ago in Dallas. And I was talking about the difference between $1 million and $1 billion. And you may or may not know this, but I always try to educate people on this because you don't realize how much it is until you actually have this comparison. Is if you counted to 1 million seconds, it takes you 13.5 days. I'm kind of fast forwarding it because I usually ask the question. But then I'll ask you a question. If 1 million seconds is 13 days, how long do you think is 1 billion seconds?
I'm not going to try and do that math right now. But
90% of people guess between 1 to 3 years. It's 33 years.
Yeah.
So you think about you've done 3 billion in sales.
3 billion is a lot.
Million is 13.5 days. 1 billion is
Yeah.
33 years. So congratulations, because that's a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of me in that, and that's just not the truth. The truth is that, our company is about 130 talented people, and I've been in the industry for 20 years, and we have currently, over 100 active projects. So it's just a lot of a lot, and a lot of people are involved.
It's a team. It takes a team for sure.
And you
that's
know,
awesome.
and the great thing for me is that I get the advantage of, you know, seeing all the reps. And, you know, there's a lot of benefit that comes to me personally from seeing the team who's so talented do so many things.
That's awesome. Well, and in talking about like the team that it takes to do such high volume, one thing that really interested us about you is that you're the woman CEO. It's not all the time that you see that. So, I mean, what advice would you give kind of a woman who is looking at getting into kind of into the industry or things like that?
And I have a follow-up question to answer that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, I think for anybody, the most important decision you can make is who you get into business with. And that's male or female. And for me personally, I always was fortunate enough to align myself with people who gave me unlimited opportunity based on my ability to execute on the opportunity in front of me. So it's kind of like, if you kill it at your current role, you keep getting more and more and more. As a woman, I do think I was especially fortunate to surround myself with men who believed in me, because the truth is, what I think it's going to take for more women to be successful is not just women having more access or awareness or opportunity, but it's actually men equally believing that they want to surround themselves by female talent. Yeah. And the truth is, almost every man I talk to, you mentioned I'm an adjunct professor. I'm on the board at the University of Utah for the Ivory Boyer Real Estate Board. And, you know, I sat in a room like for our board meeting in the last 60 days that was like the best developers in this state. And here's the invitation for all women. They want to hire women. They want women working for them. They know women are smart and talented, but there just needs to be more of us out there, which is actually why I went back to school to get my MRed so that I could teach in the program and just kind of honestly just show somebody that it's possible and try and invite more girls to the party.
Well, it brings up actually two follow-up questions. One thing is, you don't know too much about me, but I'm big into the show called Men That Built America.
Oh, okay.
And there's a show called The Food That Built America. It's a series I watch every time there's a Christmas break. It's one of my favorite things, and I actually push it out to friends of mine all the time to kind of get motivated for the new year, you know, when you're making your New Year's resolutions and stuff. And one of my favorite stories is Marjorie Post.
Okay.
And so my question, I don't know how much you know about Marjorie Post, but she's the one that took over her dad's business when he passed away. He
is
had
that Post Cereals?
Post Cereal.
Yeah.
And she wanted to change everything. She didn't want to be just in the cereal business. They went and bought Hellman's mayonnaise. They went and bought a frozen food. I forget the name of it. Bird's Eye frozen food. And the board was like, and they're all men. It was just like, no, we can't do that. And she ended up being, and where Mar-a-Lago is today, that was her property. She sold it to Donald Trump in the Trump family like 30, 40 years ago before she passed. My follow-up question to that was, when you were kind of on your way up from on the bottom, being in retail, like you said, and so having those ladies come in when you're right out of college to today, like, were you looking just for mentors, or was there a particular female mentor that you're like, oh, I really like? Because what you just talked about, the first thing I could tell, the way you are, and that you partnered with, Colin, and you're in the meeting with different developers, is you have huge confidence. And the one thing like for me, I've had different businesses and whatnot. I had one that just had a lot of success. And I always say that I don't care what color you are. I don't care if you're male or female, but if you bring that confidence, I could tell that. And that actually energizes me. Yeah. So I guess there's two parts to that answer or question is, one, did you have a female mentor? And I guess the second question is, tell us more about your confidence level, from where it started to where it is today.
Okay. Well, I just first want to thank you for that factoid about mayonnaise, because I think it makes a total sense that mayonnaise, which is one of my favorite condiments, was brought to the global scale by a woman.
Yeah,
so thank you, Marjorie.
Yes, Marjorie.
Yes, I'm a big sandwich and burger person, mayo.
There you go.
In terms of mentorship, what I would say is I think the most important thing about mentorship is that it's up to you to find a mentor, and that person you don't have to be connected with. So I think probably the biggest myth about mentors is that, like, oh, I got to get in this person's brain and spend time with them. Like Gail Miller is one of my big mentors. She probably does not know who I am, right? But I've read her books. I listened to her podcast. So I think what I am trying to do is fill my brain with the best information that I can and have a really good small group of people that I'm trying to spend time with. And then I'm also looking all the time for great content. So I'm big on podcasts. That's why I'm here today, because I love listening to podcasts. I love to read books, and I love to just be observant of who's out there and doing something amazing, and then thinking, well, what is it unique about them, and be observant without necessarily having to have like a direct relationship. Now, is Colin Wright probably the number one mentor I've had? Yes. Is Nate Pugsley, is John Stubbs, who were some of my division presidents? Yes. I've had a million great mentors that have poured into me, and I'm looking for them every day. Confidence, I'll pivot to that. It's actually interesting because Colin actually says I'm the very most confident, least confident person that he's ever met. And it's really true, because like we love this book called The Triple Package. And it's really about how like you have to have confidence, but then also like some sort of superiority complex coupled with a really insecurity drive, which is like, that's the chip on your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
The third one's impulse control, which is like just some level of like, hey man, like I'm willing to do something hard today to get something in the future. But the truth is I have a natural confidence, but every single day, man, I think I'm scared about something. I just have a little bit more confidence than fear, and I just do it anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
It's actually great advice too.
I asked you this question right before too, and it's kind of like I have a kind of a follow-up to it now, is from what you just said on, waking up every morning and confidence over fear. You're a very self-motivated person, right?
I'd like to think so.
When you're this is my question. When you're in a lull, because we all get in lulls, what do you do to kind of like, man, I need to get back on track and I need to get realigned? What's kind of your thing that you do?
Well, I would say I think confidence is like a muscle, right? That like, man, you build confidence by reps and just putting in habits. So hopefully,
Very true.
like I'm not confident because like at some level, like it's like, oh, I can wake up and try, but it's like, no, man, I've done it enough that like I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
So like I have some reps there. But I think just like resilience is, I started off in sales, right? And I think 99% of what anybody's doing is communication and some sort of tool that is great in sales. And you just have to learn that like you cannot ride the emotional roller coaster of people around you or a situation or a problem. So I would say probably one of the biggest things I try and do is I think the greatest leaders instill peace and certainty and confidence in others instead of chaos. And the only way I can do that is if that's how I gauge my own emotions. So probably one of my number one goals is to never get too low and never get too high, so that I don't have to try so hard to pull myself out of bed in the morning because it's just another day.
Yeah.
Like it's just another day, and anything is figure outable, and there's no such thing as a real estate emergency.
Yeah. I like that.
Man, that's two of those points are actually everything is figure outable. I like that. Yeah, there's solutions for everything. So
yes,
it's actually my very first mentor told me I was 23 and I learned how to flip homes. His name's Jeff Rappaport, and I remember sitting there and I was green as can be. I didn't know what the word equity meant. Like I remember writing that down. Like, what is equity? And I paid for this mentorship. And at the very end, I asked a couple of questions, and someone else asked a question. This is what someone else asked. What's the secret to real estate investing? And I remember like, well, what's he going to say? Because this guy's successful. And he says 2 words, problem solving. And you just kind of mentioned that. And I've always used that it's 2 words, guys, problem solving. And you have to become a really good problem solver. It's hard at first and you're going to get rejected, but you have to find a way to solve the problem, and there's always a way.
Have you seen Pulp Fiction?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Some guy told me once the best compliment he ever gave me is, I guess there's this like character in Pulp Fiction who's just like a professional problem solver, and he's like, "That's you," and it's so true. I tell everybody on our team, the number one skill is problem solving.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think it's very, very
well,
true.
And I was going to say, and it shows that that's probably company wide, kind of a part of the culture there is like, let's just figure out, because so you got 100 projects going on is big. Yeah. That's a lot for anybody. But so I guess, I mean, along those lines, what is something that inside of the CW group and in your role, like what sets you and CW group apart from like just any other developer or something like that?
I think from the outside, what people know us for is like really what we're always trying to do is find a competitive advantage and fill a market niche, right? Mm-hmm. And we're trying to do that in a really thoughtful, intentional way. So we focus on high design. We're vertically integrated. So we have in-house architecture. We build our own stuff. We develop our own stuff. When I moved from sales, when I moved from on-site sales and moved to the operations side of the business, my first thing was sales and marketing. And honestly, I just believe in it. So my definition of that is like one of the things that we've really done a good job at, I think, is creating a brand. And so people in the state and, when you say, oh, this is a CW project or a CW urban project or Coal West, people know what that means. Yeah. And that's because we've built a brand and we've been really intentional about that. And the whole goal of building a brand is that prior to somebody, without any knowledge of them coming into your property, they already know a story. And hopefully the story is quality, confidence, desirability, but they already know what the story is because you've done that.
It's a great culture too that you guys have built.
Yeah. And then I would say also too, like my big thing is, we build the people and the people build the projects. So if somebody actually said probably, tell me about Darlene or what's her number one thing, I'm not even sure they would say, hey, she's like a great real estate developer. Maybe they would. But I think what they would say is who works with me directly, they would say, she knows me. She cares about me. She figured out what was important to me and put me on the right seat on the bus.
That's cool.
And then they took it from there.
No, that's awesome. And that sounds like the culture of having those people around you that put you in a spot. Now you get to do that for people that are around you as well. So
that's the only thing I'm trying to do. That's the only thing I'm trying to do.
That's awesome. No, it's great. Yeah. That's great. Okay. So one question that I always like to ask is right now, is there a certain book? I know this might switch gears a little bit, but a book that you would suggest that somebody reads that you go, okay, I kind of always fall back into thinking about this or reading this again. What's your book rec?
Well, I think that right now the market is super tough. And so operational excellence and leadership is just paramount. And so it's an oldie but goodie. But man, I have had good to great on my desk for most part of the year. And when I am feeling like I'm not where I need to be, I'm like, okay, remind myself what's a level 5 leader doing, or what does operational excellence look like? But I think for this time right now, operational excellence is really important outside of being entrepreneurial and thinking new ideas.
Yeah, love that. What's a goal that you're either personally or inside of CW? What's your next big thing? Is there a goal you're trying to hit?
I think right now what we're trying to do is think differently. And it's something that we've always been great at with our projects. And now we're trying to think of it in terms of business lines. Man, the commercial real estate development market is super tough. Home building is going pretty good. So we're trying to think differently and say, okay, how can we take the main thing that we've had be our main thing and our expertise there and branch into new business ideas that would benefit the community or our company directly.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. So that's good.
It's been good.
Yeah, this is good stuff.
Especially like one thing I was going to ask you is, maybe we can close with this, is you talked about that you went on a trip with your daughter. This last weekend to Taylor Swift.
Big Taylor fan.
Yeah.
Big Swiftie.
Big Swiftie.
Big Swiftie. 5th time's the charm.
You've been 5 times.
Why?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I went on the Eras tour. Basically, I took somebody from every aspect of my life.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you
That's
took
pretty
someone
cool.
from each era of your life.
I think
to
so.
different
Yeah. My sister, my childhood best friend, my college best friends, who I raised my kids with. It was, I love
That's
her
fun.
and what she's about.
That's
but
awesome.
anyway.
Well, my question was,
That's awesome,
I think
though.
at the very beginning when he introduced you have 2 kids.
Yeah.
What's their ages?
I have a 10-year-old boy, Abe, who's in 5th grade, and I have a junior in high school, Lucy. So she's almost 17.
What are you teaching them from what you're doing, not only just as a female, but as a CEO of a company? Like, what do you? Because I'm very interested in that. I'm always teaching my kids.
Yeah.
So I have 4 kids.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with them to have a good future.
Well, I think there's two things I feel really strongly about. One is I think when anytime someone reaches some level of success, like when we were younger, like we didn't even know how that happened, right? It's just like the Cants live in West Winds and they're wealthy, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to teach my kids every day is that like wealth or money comes from intentional effort. So what I want them to know is that the life that they get to live, which is better than the life I had, is because of the sacrifices and hard work that their dad and I put in every day. So I want them to be really connected to what the end result is, to what the effort is, because otherwise they're going to just think like, that's just the way it is. Like, no, not everybody gets to fill in the blank. And those things happen because we made choices. The other thing I want my kids, especially my daughter, to realize is that it is about life choices. So I don't even care if she does what I do. If she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, great. If she wants to do what I do, great. I just want her to know that it's her choice. And I want her to understand that different paths lead to different outcomes. And there's a million good ways to do it. And I also want her to know that the choices that I have made are unique to me. And that may not be what's best for her. I'm just trying to be as transparent as possible with what has happened so she can make those decisions for herself.
It's awesome.
Love it.
I love it. There's just really quickly, I heard a little blip this morning about a college coach who now has multiple championships. But when he was about 10 years old, went to his dad and said, "Hey, I want to coach college basketball someday." And his dad packed a suitcase full of clothes. And he said, "What's this?" And he said, "This is your suitcase that the clothes you can wear when you're coaching in the Final Four." This was when he was 10 years old. And then he just said, "I'm just like set this up for you and then kind of get out of your way." And talking about, just setting that example and really supporting your kids. It was pretty cool. So I love you say that about teaching Lucy the right stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're just trying, and bringing them along for the ride. Right. I love to take my kids through communities and developments and see what they do. I love to bring them to work. I love for them to know. I don't want there to be any mystery around the life that I lived.
Yeah.
And then they can decide if it's for them or if they want a different path.
That's awesome. I'm sure you had an awesome time this last weekend with her as well.
Yeah, so fun.
Well, Flat Bill Nation, we are signing off. And so just like we always say, invest in your future.
Invest in yourself.
This is the Flat Bill Investors Podcast signing off.
Thanks.